Hello there and welcome back to another review. So today we're going to be having a look at Azumi or Azumi, however you want to say it, it's up to you. I think most people say Azumi, don't they? But anyway, made back in 2003 and directed by the amazingly talented Ryuhei Kitamura, who directed one of my all-time favourite movies, and that is Versus, which I reviewed ages ago on the channel now. Seems like a lifetime ago, but if you haven't seen Versus, please make sure to go and check it out because it's an absolutely mind-blowing film. But it's Azumi today, based on the manga of the same name. And this was one of them movies that I remember coming out on DVD around that sort of Kill Bill era time when everyone all of a sudden was getting into kung fu movies, Asian cinema, Japanese movies. You remember like sort of that period from when sort of Crouching Tiger come out and then up till sort of Kill Bill come out. It seemed like everyone and anyone was into sort of Japanese movies, kung fu movies, whatever it may be. So I will say here and now, I know nothing about the manga. I'm judging this. This is just a review on the movie alone. The plot of Azumi is really simple. Basically, some kids have been trained in feudal Japan and to be skilled warriors and assassins and set out on a journey. They learn about bloodshed and along the way, and that sort of everything comes with a price. You get the idea. Now, the movie is very cool, as you would expect, and there is loads to be enjoyed here, but the general consensus of the movie is that it's good, but it's not great. I mean, I've seen some scathing reviews of this movie. I've seen reviews where people absolutely love it. They think it's the best thing they've ever seen. But I've seen reviews where it's literally 2 out of 10. Like, people say it's, a load of rubbish. But my whole feeling towards Azumi is like, it's okay. It's worth seeing if you can. But it's not one of them movies I could say you must see it. See, it's like a film like Versus, I was like, you must see it. Like, you've got to check out Versus. Azumi, not so much. It's okay, but it's not brilliant. Like, in terms of what people focus on in, like negative aspects, it could be things like, say, that some of the plot holes, the costumes that are used, some saying that, like, the story lacks depth, the fight sequences aren't that well done. Even saying it's too long, and I will be honest, every single one of them points, there is a little, even just a tiny bit of truth to them all. I think the thing is, like, Kitamura is stepping back too much here. I mean, I know I shouldn't, probably, it's a bit unfair to compare it to Versus, because like I say, Versus is absolutely mind-blowing, but it's almost like Kitamura is stepping back too much, like sort of he's dialing it back too much, and it definitely doesn't have that same type of kinetic energy going behind it. And it's only really in the last 15 minutes or so that like he actually, as a director, lets loose and he does sort of that kind of action that you would kind of expect him to do. But you don't really, in terms of the action and the fight sequences, aside from sort of the ending of the movie, where, like I say, the reins are off a little bit, but aside from the ending, you don't really remember much of the fight sequences. They're all really well done and really well staged, but you don't really think, oh, I love that fight 10 minutes in, or I love that fight. You remember that fight where they fight? It's not like that, but the ending, you will remember, because I'll say there's some great stuff there. The fight scenes, for the most part, while serviceable, there really is, like I mentioned, there's nothing memorable there, which is a shame. But when a fight does break out, so many instances, it's not like it's any different from sort of the one that preceded it, if that makes sense. Like, you can sort of, you watch one fight and it sort of just blurs into the next one, and there's not really overly that many. It's not like fight all the time. But the length of the fights as well, all of them are quite short. There's no sort of lengthy epic fight sequences, as I mentioned, aside from the ending. And I don't think any villain in the movie had sort of a lasting appeal. Also, for a manga adaptation, the film takes itself, I think, a bit too seriously. Azumi, the leader, is never sort of expanded upon, sort of like, well, say leader, she's like the main one of the group, like, never explains sort of why she is better than all the others she trained with, nor do we learn much about her. She is very deadpan through most of the movie. But it's not all negative. There's still a lot to be enjoyed with Azumi. I'm not bashing it. I'm just giving my opinion on it. But what we do get is great camera shots. It's shot and framed amazingly well. The settings, sets and locations are all perfect. You get violence, there's CGI blood galore. There's a lot going on here that, would make it worth checking out. But there's like CGI blood here, there and everywhere. But largely, it's a very simple story. And I think, though, what let the film down was I was just not invested enough when I was watching it. I saw it ages ago, like quite a number of times, watching it again recently for the purpose of this review. And even watching it now, was never sort of overly invested in the movie. I watched it, I loved it at the time, but but I was never enamored of it. And it's one of them movies, like, you go along with it, but I was never really sort of proper invested, with what's going on. The movie is over 2 hours, as I say, it's quite a long film, and maybe I shouldn't compare it with Versus, as I will have done so far in this review, as that could be deemed a bit unfair, but it just felt the film was lacking, whether it be more memorable characters, a story with more twists and turns, character development, whatever it may be. But if you like your violence, you like your samurai flicks, you like your sword play, then you're going to find a lot to enjoy with Azumi, and that's why it's worth one checking out if you're into any of them things. And I guess it's just one of them movies where I was just expecting, I think, a bit more bang for my buck. I think I was expecting, I don't know, I was expecting something really groundbreaking and really epic, and it's almost, like I say, like the director is sort of just dialed back a little bit. It's a lot more low-key. There's still loads of violence in it, but it's almost like this is him just only sort of in second gear. But like I say, a film like Versus, Kitamura is straight into fifth gear. So the film opens to this little girl who has lost her mother and gets picked up by a man and some other children. Then we flash forward and they're all doing like some sword and fight training in the forest, and they all live like a carefree lifestyle, and their only purpose is to train. Like, that's all they've got to worry about. Their whole purpose and what they live for is to train. Azumi and one of the kids, Nachi, are meant to be the best. Again, like I say, no idea why Azumi is one of the best. She just is. She's just one of the best in the group. So you get a sense of family. And the master says it's now time for them to leave and do their mission. This is what they've been training for. We have a flashback where he sort of vows to train, where we learn he vowed to train a group up to eradicate power-hungry warlords. And that right there is your plot. That's all the plot is. This guy's training these kids up to eradicate some evil warlords, and that's all there is to it. Master Gesai, his name. And he gets them into pairs of like the ones they like the most, and it's quite a barbaric scene. Like, they're meant to pair up with sort of their best friends, and he orders them to sort of slay the other one. To which they do, and Azumi kills Nachi, and it's quite a disturbing scene in that before they even set out on their mission, they've actually killed their best friend, which is quite, as I say, that's... in that predicament, it really is quite an unsettling scene, because it's the way they sort of look at each other, and it's like, right, we've got to do this, like, how much I've got to do what Master says. He's looked after me, he's raised me, and now he's ordering me to kill my best friend. So as I say, it's a bit of quite an unsettling scene. So bearing in mind he wants them to do this, so they'll be like, there will be peace and no more suffering. He's like, yeah, just kill your best friend. His whole logic is he wants to take out these warlords. So after they've done this, they set fire to the hut where they live and bury their bodies. They arrive at this village. The master and the students from sort of coming into this village, and the place is like being slaughtered and overrun by bandits, and the master doesn't want them to like intervene, as he says it's not their mission. Azumi, though, on the verge of helping, sort of this woman gets sort of dragged by her throat, sort of attached. She's got like dragged by her throat by a rope that's sort of attached to a horse as well at the same time. But Azumi is like, why can't we help? They're all sort of like, what we're going to do? And he's like, look, it's not our mission. We're not meant to intervene. And he says, like, killing some bandits is not going to save the nation. But even still, come on, like, you can help these people. I know, I get what you're saying. I get your point. Saving these people is not going to help, like, save the nation. But, even still, be a good person and help these people out. But anyway, they meet a messenger named Nagato, and then they ambush a warlord, Nagamasa, and he is like fishing, and another clan is fearful they will be next. The main guy they're after, Kiyomasa Kato, and his assistant Kanbei, that's who they're after. That's the main dude they're after, Kiyomasa. Then we have a really cool scene where they ambush his convoy, and a scene that starts off average and just gets better and better. You get this like guitar-driven music throughout, great sword play here, fantastic choreography, and just amazing the way it builds. And like I say, I'm not bashing Azumi. I think the fight sequences in it are really well done. They are really well done, but unfortunately, they're just not memorable fight sequences, if that makes sense. Like, they're great while they're happening, but after the film, it's okay. You just sort of almost forget all about it. I think sometimes it almost borders on too much of a good thing, because each fight sequence I think is for the most part really well done. But at the same time, like I mentioned, it's just not memorable enough, which is a bit of bit ironic that they are really well done, but the fight sequences aren't memorable. But even still, they serve the film, all fine. So a group of teens like slaughter warlords. That's the movie. So they bail after killing Kiyomasa, and Azumi is like sort of wondering, like, are these people really bad? Because she doesn't know them. She's like questioning what they're doing. We know nothing about them, and you have to love how the master sort of hardly speaks to them for most of the time and just lets them sort of bicker and argue amongst themselves. Like it's almost like he doesn't have, I mean, he's got authority, but he just lets them, as long as they do the mission, he's not worried. He's like, just do what you like. If you want to argue. He tells them that, like, he tells the teens that the people they're after also poison their weapons as well. So I do like the character Saru, who he looks like a monkey, basically, this guy, and he's like an evil spy, and it turns out Kato was using a double. They thought they killed the guy, but he was actually using the doubles, as like warlords were known to do. So one of them, Amagi, has been cut by the weapons. Saru goes to recruit these insane brothers as assassins, them even laughing and joking at an inn about a hole one of them has made in one of their hands. Now, when you see these two, you're thinking, oh, these are crazy. Like, this is where the fight, this is when it gets really, like, say, off, like, over the top. You've got cartoony type of characters, and I was really amped up at this point. So I was like, okay, these two, if they're laughing about sort of a hole in one of his hands, like, they're sadistic, they're crazy, something's going to happen here with these two, like with these brothers that we meet. Our team arrive at the next village, and their master lets them wander around and enjoy the sights. Hyuga, one of the warriors, likes Yae, who's from the village, and she's like a performer, and she tells him she has been doing it for as long as she can remember, and he's like, yeah, just like me in terms of his training. Kabe wants a guy broken out of prison too to help. The master gets informed by the messenger that they killed a double, as I mentioned. So they've, he's still alive, their target. So these brothers, right? So when these three brothers turn up and run into the street performers, and are like, it is funny because it's like they're meant to be targeting the kids who we're following. He's like, well, it's like a rough count will do. Sort of like there's the wrong number of them because they're looking at the wrong people. And he's like, well, rough count will do, thinking these are the kids they after. And I love how they're like, well, it doesn't look like them. And they go, sort of, well, it's near enough. That we'll kill them. It's near enough. It's the number's wrong. Doesn't really look like them, but yeah, we'll say that's them. So they slaughter them and they go to sexually assault like the females. Then Hyuga and Azumi show up in the nick of time. Now I thought here, talking about the fight sequences, this was going to be a big fight. I thought this was going to be a big, like a full-blown set piece, but it's over so damn quick. Like, they could have done this so epically. This could have been an amazing fight scene here with these three like sadistic, evil sort of brothers. But nothing really hums of it. Like, there's a fight, but it's nothing you think, oh, it's like, it was a bit of a letdown. I was just expecting such a longer showdown. And Saru gets this guy out of prison. So Ukiha is the teen who always wants to follow Master's orders. Amagi is very ill, and the Master just wants to leave him there and sort of have like a Mexican standoff with swords at one point, because they're sort of like, the Master's sort of like, will leave him, he's poisoned, but they're like, come on, it's like, we can't leave him here, so they're sort of butting heads about that. Amagi ends up slitting his own throats. They don't need to worry about him anymore, and Hyuga and Azumi seem to be the only ones with any conscience at this point. Yae asked them to come to her village, and it's extremely visual film. And as I say, the angles used are perfect. There's like in terms of cinematography and the scope that's in the movie, you can't take anything away from that, because it really, I say, visually, it's a great looking movie. We meet Bijumaru Mogami as the guy who's sort of out of prison, who's in like white robes. That's all they've got out of prison to sort of help the guy they're after. Hyuga gets like sort of sliced up right in front of Yae's eyes. This guy's a bit of a sadist, and just that, that's just who he is. He's nothing fleshed out. When I'm talking about villains, and the guy they broke out of the prison, and like I say, he's in white robes. He's visual enough, but there's just whatever it is, he's not fleshed out anymore. We just get he's this sadistic, evil killer guy they got out of prison, and that's it. You just loves killing, and that's his whole gimmick. And I love the way the sunlight is used on this scene too. Really well shot scene. I love how Saru, the monkey assassin, finish him. At one point, he finishes him quickly, as he hates the way Mogami makes them suffer. He's like, look, this is just too twisted, and he just kills him quickly, because he's like, I can't stand the way you prolong it. Can't stand the way he makes them suffer. And for some reason at this point, Azumi the whole time is having sort of a lay down, totally unaware of what is going on. Her and Yae bury Hyuga next to Amagi. Nagato gets stabbed by Salu after a brief fight when he is caught listening to their plans. He meets the master though and tells him about the ship, this ship, and gives them sort of some explosives. And it's like the film though can't make up its mind if it wants to be sort of super serious. And I'm sorry if all these Japanese names are confusing you. I've probably even tripped over myself with some of the characters and their names, but it's almost like the film wants to be super serious with a message and sort of dramatic with the killing and a plot. But at the same time, it's not sure if it wants to be sort of arcadey, cartoonish, over-the-top style. And it's sort of caught in the middle between the two, where it's trying to be sort of serious, like a period piece, but at the same time trying to be cartoony, arcadey, over-the-top style, and is sort of caught between these two things. So Saru and Mogami recruit some bandits, one of them even touching the latter's crotch at one point, to which he slices his hand off. Yae starts to make Azumi look more feminine, tells her that swords don't suit her. Master, Nagara and Ukiha storm an enemy fort. That's two of the kids who are working with Azumi. They storm an enemy fort where they think Kiyomasa is. The master gets shot. Good plan, all that training only to get shot. Really well thought out. Though to be fair, he absolutely kicks ass at this point. And after they are ambushed by the bandits, we have blood on the walls, him slicing them up as he's sort of climbing the stairs, etc. And again, it builds into something and you think it's going to go somewhere, but it just stops. Like I say, it's almost like the reins are on too much here. It's a great looking thing. I mean, you guys chuck in some lighting for some good measure, and and you have a great scene. Again, just a shame no fight scene apart from the ending gets into epic territory, and that's a real shame. So Ukiha gets speared in the back. The fact the master gets beat does make you wonder if he was any good anyway, as the mission hasn't been too successful so far. So after realising he won't survive, Ukiha goes crazy and has one last attempt to fight before getting speared more and sort of taken down. So Azumi and all her classmates and the people she trained with and everybody, they're sort of all dying sort of one by one. Azumi and Yae wake up to some bandits trying to assault them. Azumi starts cutting them down and says she can't escape her destiny. And, if you have read the manga, please let me know how this compares. Is it a faithful adaptation? Is it a bad adaptation? I mean, if you are a fan of the manga, let me know what the general consensus is of the live action movie, because I'd be really interested if you are an Azumi fan, is it faithful? Is it a fair adaptation, or is it a complete abomination? Please make sure to let me know. So as all villains do, they put the master on a cross to lure out the good guys. Now when she storms this fort, this is the epicness I'm talking about. This is where, like I said, the ending, we get cutting off heads, cutting down structures, slicing up arrows. You get some wire work, but never too much. And I love how the bandits and samurai start fighting amongst themselves, and it really is an expertly done fight scene. And it's not to take away from any other fight scene in the movie, but the ending is where it's sort of really at. And it's a proper set piece up until now, which is up until now it's been largely just sword fights in a forest or field, but this bit here at the ending is a proper set piece. Azumi, sort of whilst hiding, finds Nagara, who gives her some dynamite and blows up Salu and his cannon at one point. Don't even need to light this stuff. You just throw it. The dynamite they got, you just throw it and it blows up. They don't even need to light it. This thing just blows. So Bujumaru has gone mad with bloodlust at this point, and of course it is him and Azumi in the final fight. He's the guy they broke out from prison, if you're having struggled to keep up. And I do love how they incorporate explosions into the mix too, rather than just having fighting, which is quite cool, even if it doesn't make too much sense how they go off, sort of like samurai Michael Bay style, if you can imagine such a thing. All the while the music is there's this non-stop guitar solo going on. Watch out for the spinning camera loop that happens too, where the camera sort of keeps going round and round as they're fighting, which is quite cool. And as I say, for some reason Azumi is just untouchable. And if you have to love all the CGI on the way, when she cuts the guy, when his head falls, it's CGI. I mean, it doesn't look too great, but it's still funny nonetheless. She gets her master down, who tells her to live how she wishes. Then we catch up with Kiyomasa on a boat. Azumi, for some reason, with dry clothes, jumps out of the water and kills him, and then jumps back in the ocean. Okay, and the film ends with sort of Azumi and Nagara going after their next target. But it's a good movie, but it's not as probably as epic as I was expecting it to be. But let me know what your thoughts are on Azumi. I've sort of crashed through it there, but make sure to let me know what you think. So thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you enjoyed the review, and I'll see you again soon.
Don't concentrate on the finger or you will miss all that heavenly glory.